Hello and welcome everybody to the long-belated Moonblast Power Rankings. I'm here by myself just because I kind of just wanted to get them out to you because I feel bad that they've been so late. I'm sorry, just haven't really been feeling like up to it and I've been busy, so I apologize. Hopefully getting them out now will help redeem myself. Alright. So, without further ado, let us get into the rankings, shall we? To start us off at number 16, we got the Charlotte Megahornets, coached by Manchild. I don't know where to start with this team. I just really don't like it. It's got kinda horrendous speed, where the fastest thing on his team is the Latios, which is like 110, not terrible, but then it goes to goes to Emolga, which probably won't ever be brought, and then the Urshifu single strike, which is at 97, down to I believe the Nidoking. So that's the first thing. The speed is very kind of poor. The defense is pretty decent with the Heatran Tangrowth duo. But just one Mamoswine just ends this entire team. I'm not a big fan of it. Like, Swirlix and Emolga kind of just do nothing. I feel like the team is very top-heavy and not really in a good way. Because, I mean, while the offense is pretty good with the Urshifu and the Latios, Belly-Drum Azumarill, and the Nidoking, Heatran to a lesser extent. I just don't really like it. It gets walled pretty much by a competent fairy. It's like, well, got the Nidoking, which is good. You at least have that. It's just, I'm sorry, Mancha. I just don't like it. The pivoting is not really there. You have Ursh and Porygon and the Emolga. Ursh doesn't want to be the one pivoting. You want to be pivoting the Urshifu in so it can do its Urshifu things. So the best pivot you got is the P2, which admittedly is pretty good, because you can safely get pretty much anything in, which is great. But I'm just not a fan of it. I'm sorry, buddy. You got webs with Swirlix, so respect for that. Anyway, let's move on to number 15. And we got the Seattle Supersonics, coached by awesomnessguy. Oh, last team had Whoop ranking of 1.5 whoops. This one also has 1.5 whoops. It's kind of similar, except it's not as top heavy as the previous one, but it's very boom and bust, with A-Tails usually leading off most games with Aurora Veil for Heracross, Blacephalon, Manaphy, Lando, and Swellow to just tear things apart, which is pretty good on paper. But I feel like if the Veil doesn't go up, the team will struggle quite a bit. It's not very bulky. I mean, the bulkiest things you got are Bronzong, which is passive and really easy to take advantage of, Rotom, Skuntank to an extent, and Mega Heracross. Manaphy, I guess, but it's probably going to have to be forced into a defensive role. Because if there are teams that can out-offense you or get the screens out of the way, which I know there are, it's very ride or die on that A-Tails, I think. My opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. But the team is freaking terrifying to go up against, I will give you that. Like, you probably have some of the best offense in the league, but not a very good team to facilitate it. The pivoting is very, it's just not it's not what I really like in a team. You get the Manaphy, Rotom, and Swellow, but none of them are really bulky enough to really be effective pivots. I mean, Rotom, yes, but again, I'm just not too big a fan on it. I will give you probably have some of the best offense in the league, and it is going to be a nightmare for anybody to want to prep for you. Speed is pretty good as well, with the Swellow down to Blacephalon or Ninetales, I forget. And then down to Manaphy. I mean, the speed doesn't matter or down to Lando. Speed doesn't matter too much, because you're probably going to be either running Scarf or Specs on the Blacephalon. And you have the Heracross to destroy anything that's super bulky. So, I don't know. I hope you do well. I hope you prove me wrong. I want to see something, at least something on your team be on the top 10 kill leaders, which I'm pretty sure you can make happen. This team is very threatening, but not very sound in terms of what it can do. All right, next up, we got Ponyta powered coached by DepressedAhri, also known as my best friend, with 1.5 whoops. Not Ari. What? What you doing? Why? I'm so confused. You go Tapu Bulu round 2, Bitter round 3. What? I was just a little bit lost about that. The team is just very unorthodox. I'll say that. It's very much a mishmash of really anything. It's hard to say what the team's goal is, because you could stall out with the regen core of Torn and Bulu and the Toxpex. Also, Bulu Pex is really gross, just to mitigate its weakness to ground. Then you have the Ditto that can just sit there and copy whatever wants to set up on it. I don't know how to feel about this team. I don't really like it. Again. Zardex is also going to be very difficult to be using with this team, just because you're going to be heavily relying on Savali and Torn to defog your rocks away. And it's tough. It's tough to do. Well, no, you do also have the Claydol, so I guess it's not that bad. Got the Bishop too, which is kind of interesting. Pick off faster psychic types that might want to shut down Pex or anything like that. Yeah, the Reboot and the Corsola, which are a little bit meh. Corsola's just fat. The Reboot, I'm not sure how much you're actually going to be bringing in. I do know the Reboot is pretty good. I just haven't seen it be very effective in high tier. I'm sorry, Ari. I'm just not sure what the team is supposed to do. It probably does something. But I just don't know. I don't know what it does. Strong electric type, but not really. No, more like a strong ice type. It just shreds this team apart. With your steel type being Bisharp. It's a bit sketch. I mean, Savali will probably have to patch that hole with whatever type would best resist ice for you. So I just be careful about that. Maybe Ditto can do something to get rid of the ice type, but I don't know. Good luck. See how you do. Number 13, we got Lower Peninsula Lapras, coached by Cascade, with 1.5 whoops again. Very similar, where it's like, I just don't know what the team wants to do. It's kind of going all over the place. You grabbed a lot of buttons bonds, and then 2 defensive options with Skarmory and Type Null. Your offense is kind of bonkers, though, with Zeraora, Keldeo, Garchomp, Lele, Nicolego, Sneasel, and to an extent Lurantis. So it could be pretty scary. The speed is kind of horrendous, though, where it goes from Zeraora to Keldeo to, I think Nihi, or Nihi might be faster. I forget. It's one of those two, and then Keldeo, then Lele. No, I'm sorry. Zeraora to Sneasel to Keldeo to Nihi. Yes. The offensive speed is actually pretty good. Defensively, the team will definitely suffer. Also against ice types, because your steel type isn't resistant to ice, and Sneasel I don't really count as a resist. Keldeo, same deal. I mean, it can take straight ice beams, but strong freeze dry user kind of just mops the floor with you, I will say. Zeraora Lele is kind of interesting. I wonder how, I genuinely wonder how well that combination does, because I think it'd be interesting to see. Because I saw in the draft that you weren't too big a fan of it, but then you didn't make any trades in Grace, so I'm like, huh. I don't know. I'm intrigued. Should at least have Skarmory to set hazards for the start of the game. Anyway, the pivoting is still a little bit lackluster with the Zeraora, Keldeo, and type Null. You have pretty good offensive pivots, but not a lot of defense to fall back on. I mean, type Null is a pretty decent blanket check to most things, but once its EV gets knocked off, it's a little shaky. You don't really have a knock switch in either, other than maybe Skarmory, but it doesn't really want to lose lefties. Hey, you got Garchomp too, but Garchomp you kind of want to preserve as your cleaner with the Scale Shy. It's better than what I've seen before so far, in my opinion. So I don't know. I guess we'll. I keep saying that. I just don't know. I hope that it pans out for you. Excited to see how you do. Up to number 12, we got the Picton Piplups, coached by Qmos, a very good friend of mine. He picked up a team that was utter filthy garbage, and he made it pretty playable, except for the Pokemon that is the 9th Mon on his roster that I refuse to name and refuse to acknowledge. The speed on this team is pretty solid. No, it's okay. It's okay for what he did, for what you were able to do with it. The pivoting is pretty okay, with the B just spamming U-turn against almost everything. Urshifu with the U-turn, Mandibuzz, Comfey. Ew, I feel sick now. That's very nice. Though the hazard game is very poor, where you only got Stealth Rock, and I mean you do got technically 4 Defoggers, but I doubt Beedrill's ever going to run Defog, and I doubt you really want to use Comfey for Defog. So you're very much reliant on dealing the damage yourself rather than having passive damage, which I don't think Beedrill really enjoys. I feel like it just likes darting in and out and having stacks and stacks of spikes or rocks set up so you can just pick things off with Fell Stinger. I do like the Magnezone here to get rid of the steals for Beedrill and Latias. So, good old-fashioned Dragnag plus B, the classic. Licky being there as a defensive mon is pretty good, especially with Gourgeist. I think it's a pretty nice pairing. It's also one of the teams that isn't actually top heavy, which is crazy because I feel like a lot of the teams in this division specifically chose to go very top heavy, and I'm not sure of how good an idea that was because I feel like they got like 6 pretty decent mons, but the rest of the team just kind of falls over. So it's fairly easy to prep for most weeks. So this is the first team where it's not top heavy. Actually, I don't think Qmos drafted anything above 15. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. A lot more versatility in what mons can be brought each week. Also drafted like Heroic Dusk. Mad respect. Someone had to do it, since I didn't do it this season in low tier. For once. Jeez. I don't know what... I just haven't seen Urshifu Rapid Strike do much. I'm looking forward to seeing your game, see how Ursh does for you. Alright. Let's move on to number 11. The Gold State Golducks, coached by Risky, with a score of 2 whoopers. Probably should have gone 2.5. Yeah, you know what? You get 2.5 whoopers. I don't care what the video says. Mega Alakazam Hydreigon is filthy, disgusting, monstrously, overpoweredly gross. With just the casual Mienshao sitting there as your offensive backbone, like that is really good and really hard to deal with and switch into. You also have a decent bulky electric too, which is kind of nice for any bulky flyings that might be able to deal with Mienshao. One thing that I will say that the team will struggle with, it might struggle a little bit with like bulky ghosts. No. Never mind. I don't know what I'm saying. This is very unprofessional. I'm very unprofessional. I'm just doing this unscripted. Just letting it all naturally come out. Yeah, offense is pretty good. Defense is pretty good as well. The Steela can also be run offensive, but for the sake of Swampert being there, I'm going to say it's a pretty good defensive pick for you. As with the aforementioned Swampert, Audino, and Colossal. I like the Whimsicott here for the support and the Prankster. So you're able to set up either Stun Spores for like Specs Hydreigon, or Power Herb, Meteor Beam, Celesteela. The team is very threatening, honestly. It's a lot more effective in terms of its threat level, just because it does have like really good, solid defensive pivots that can, ones that can take a hit and also get out into your hard hitters without them getting super chipped, which is really nice. I will say the one weak part about this team is probably the removal, with Colossal and Whimsicott being your primary removal. Hydreigon, I feel like if you're running Defog on it, it might be a little bit of a waste, but I mean, if you need to, you need to. You do also have webs with Ariados, which I think could be fun some weeks, where you just run it as a suicide lead, which could be pretty cool. Maybe. I don't know, it might get Memento. I think it gets Memento. It might. If it gets Memento, I think that'd be a pretty fun suicide lead option. So, I like this team quite a bit, actually, but I liked a lot of the teams very much the same. Because I feel like from here onward, a lot of the teams are just very smushed together in terms of the skill, or in terms of the power level. It's very, very hard to rank, which is also another reason why it's been so late, because I'm just like, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. So, consider like this team and the rest like pretty much interchangeable. This is just my opinion and the way that I see these teams. Reason I didn't really rank this one much higher. It's very reliant on the Zam, the Hydreigon, and Mienshao to deal damage. Because the rest of the team doesn't do a whole lot of that, and can kind of crumple to getting set up on. Because the defense is a little passive, I will say that. Alright. Next up is number 10, Los Angeles Dodrios, coached by Sacred TD, with 2.5 whoops as well. Yuck. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. Where to start? Where to start? Web's Vikavolt into Lando / Kangaskhan / Primarina is... Oh lordy. That is horrifying. But what's not horrifying is the speed. The speed, I will say, is kind of horrendous. Your fastest mon is the Espeon, I believe at 115. It's either 115 or 110. I think it's 110, actually. Yeah, 110. So a lot of your mons either going to have to run Scarf or you're going to have to rely on webs pretty heavily, which kind of sucks because it gets a little bit more prediction reliant, and you're going to have to preserve Ichgavolt pretty well if you're going up against more speedy opponents. You got really good bulk, in my opinion, like really good offensive bulk with Aegislash, Muck, and Buzzwole, and Lando to an extent. I really like it. The team is very, very gross. This is like the epitome of bulky offense, which is one of my favorite team styles. Where it's just fat mon after fat mon after fat mon taking hits and then killing everything else. So good on you for pandering to me for that. Kangaskhan is banned with Seismic Toss, by the way, which I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. But you know, I also like the Espeon there with the Magic Bounce. I think that was a pretty good shout, since you don't have much in terms of removal aside from Servine and Lando. So yeah, I kind of like that. But at the same time, if those two go down, or you just don't bring them for that week, you will get utterly destroyed by spikes. I'm just saying that you'll get rocked, because none of your team really has instant recovery or any way to pass wishes aside from Espeon. So I feel like he can get worn down very quickly, unless you run Kangaskhan with Wish. But then I feel like it might be a little bit of a waste to make a Kang, but you do what you gotta do. You do what you gotta do. I like this team. I really like this team. I'd use this team. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Although it's not as fast as I'd like it to be. I quite like it. I quite like it. Good job. Alright. Number 9. It's my boy mcgriddlesoe, coach of the Bronx Bewears. Hello, my friend. This is such a fat team. It's actually ridiculous, and it kind of makes me sick looking at it. With the Lele, Corv, Blissey, Incin, and the Mudsdale. And I guess the Blastoise is there too for defense, but I feel like you mostly want to run that Shell Smash, because your offense is very lacking, in my opinion. I mean, you could just run the thing where it's like spread passive damage and then clean up with Mega Lade and Gengar and Smash Toys. You could do that, which is pretty nice, but I don't know. I feel like the team does get set up on fairly easily and bowled over. So actually, since the speed again isn't really all there, I mean, you got Gengar up there, and then to Gallade, which is really the only other thing that's going to be investing in speed might be Blastoise at somewhere in the 80s. Yikes. I can just see like a physical electric type washing you. Utterly washing you once Mudsdale goes down. Because you also got 3 waters on the team, which is a little sketch. But the team is just so freaking fat, man. It's going to be really hard to break through the core of Corv, Blissey, and Finny with Incin and Mudsdale without some kind of setup. So, very good with that. And you got Gallade, which is arguably the best Mega in draft format, although I'm not too big a fan of it. So, yeah, good luck to all the other coaches for breaking this crap. Yeah, I like it very fat. Effectively fat, too. You earned yourself 3 whoops, my friend. good luck this season. Alright, up next we got the Jacksonville Jirachis, coached by MylesTheMad, and a score of 3 whoopers. It's fat like the previous team, but it's also got more offense, more offensive kick. The mon there that's missing is supposed to be Mega Slowbro. I don't know why it's missing. I don't know. It's a lot more, I think it's excuse me. I think it's a lot more effective in terms of being defensive because the defensive pieces aren't as passive. They're still not exactly, you know, offensive juggernauts, but, you know, Life Orb Moonblast Clef is a thing, and Ferrothorn's got a pretty high power base, or got pretty high base power moves. Plus, you just have Weavile and Darm to just click buttons against the opponent, so that's pretty good. The Slowbro, I'm very interested to see. I'm looking forward to seeing that because I don't see that mon drafted very often, unless it's, you know, on more dedicated stall teams. Yeah, I quite like it. Although a Swift Freeze Dry mon will just kind of screw you over, since your ice resists are both very frail in Weavile and Darm, so something to keep an eye out for, especially with the Zapdos and Noivern both being weak to it. Something else I like is you got a lot of hazards, and a lot of good hazard setters, with the Clef for Ferrothorn and the Sandslash all being able to set rocks, the Sandslash and Ferrothorn being able to set spikes as well. It's going to be very nice, especially with all the pivot you got from Zapdos, Noivern, Clef Teleport, Slowbro Teleport, Darm U-Turn. It's going to be very nasty if you set spikes and keep the pressure up with Weavile and Darm, so that your opponent doesn't have time to get rid of them. So that could be pretty scary. I just like this team a little bit more, just because it's not as just sit there forever and eat every hit. It's more of like sit there and smack you a few times. All right, let's go to number 7. The Indianapolis Zolts, coached by Platoniia, who's got 3.5 whoops. This is not biased because he is Hunch Crow. Shut up. Okay, maybe a little bit, but it's also biased because it panders to my Mega Medicham love. Mon's just insane, especially with webs and G-Darm. Like, dear God. Oh my Jesus. It's not gonna be fun to deal with this team. It hits so hard on the physical side. On the special side, it's very lacking with just Meloetta and Dragapult. And I guess Slurpuff sometimes, and maybe Specs Rotom. But outside of that, excuse me, I'm professional. I also know how to edit, so yeah. It's very, you want to make sure that the physical walls are going to be dead before doing much. I mean, Darm and Medicham can kind of make sure that that happens, but you're also going to be heavily reliant on webs again, like the previous team, because your speed is kind of trash, my friend. Speed is also kind of trash with Dragapult to Meloetta to Mega Medicham. You have a giant gap between Pult and Meloetta, which is very exploitable for a lot of mons. I mean, you will have to use Darm as Scarf pretty much every week, just to outspeed most of the other team. I mean, not that it's begging for power or anything with Band, but it could be exploited. You do also just have the casual belly drum Slurpuff as well if they want to do anything like that. I mad respect for the Honchkrow but I feel like if you got something with knockoff for bulky psychics, it'd be a little bit more effective. And yeah, you got Pult, but I mean, you kind of need something that's a little bit more resilient, just so we can be taking the coverage moves that most psychics will have for darks. So I mean, maybe it works. It's just an offensive. It's an offensive pick, which I dig, but I don't know how effective it'll be. All right. I am sleepy. I'm sorry. You also get the Steelix thing, which is mad crazy good, which is also going to be one of the premier physical walls that you took for yourself. Nice. Hazards are also very weak, being only Steelix and Slurpuff, being able to set anything. So it's going to be heavily reliant on instant damage from Medicham and Darm, which is not hard to get from either of them. So yeah. Team hit real hard Unga Bunga mode. I like it. I like it quite a bit. It's strong. It's not because there's Honchkrow. Shut up, leave me alone. Alright. Up next at 6, we got Rocket's Revenge, coached by Crimfinity with 3.5 whoopers. This team is very unorthodox, but I kinda love it. I kinda love it. The speed is finally somewhat decent with Megalophony to Greninja to Staraptor. Then it goes down to, I think, Rotom. Just kind of a big gap, but not the end of the world. Defensively, the team is pretty solid as well with the Rotom, Slowbro, and Sylveon. I quite like that. You just never really see Metagross or Staraptor being drafted lately. They just kind of fell off. So I'm very, very excited to see how those two will perform. And you got the Goat Trapinch, so I mean, how low could this team really be? Something else I really like about this team is like there's really nothing that just sits there. There's always like the threat of Nasty Plot, Rotom, or the Slowbro that's just going to teleport all over the place and get in the Gren and the Lop, or the Staraptor. So I quite like that. Something I do wish though is I wish the ground type was a little bit better so that you can more feasibly bring it, so that you don't just lose to electric spam. I mean, you got Decidueye and you got the Rotom, but the Rotom doesn't have reliable recovery, and it's just a bit sketch. Because you could just get Volt switched on all game and wear down your offensive mons, which would not be ideal. Definitely one of the more balanced teams that we've seen, which is really nice to see. It's also not as top-heavy as a lot of the first teams were. Still kind of top-heavy, but not extremely so. We could at least see all these mons coming at some point. Trapinch, you better bring that. Playoffs. I'm expecting Nick Crim. Show my goat some love. Yeah. Interesting. Good luck. I quite like this. Alright. Up next, we got number 5, San Antonio's Sandslashes, coached by Tiger, at 4 whoops. This is definitely in the upper echelons of teams. Like it hits like a truck, but it's also got a defensive backbone. Finally, a team with competence in both. Crim's was okay. I thought it was pretty good. But this team just does a little bit better in my opinion. Speed is also pretty good with Coco to Ampipom to Infernape. Jeez, I almost got through that. To Jirachi. Really good stuff with that. Fat Wishpasser with Vaporeon. Lots of Pivot as well. I really like the team. It's top heavy somewhat, but also not really. And I also like that every mon on this team can come to any given game. The double ice is a little weird, especially with not really. Well, you got Venusaur as your fighting resist, but other than that, I mean, you got Coco. So against fighting, you're a bit screwed. Against fire, you're even more screwed, where you only have Vaporeon, really. So that's also something to keep your eye out for. But I quite like this. Mamoswine's a really good mod, and it's really hard to switch into. So that's... You got probably one of the best offensive draft Pokemon, which is good stuff. Yeah, there's not much else to say about the team, I guess. I mean, hazards aren't great. We only got Mamo and Jirachi. Removal, you got Rhyme and Coco. And I think you got Moltres Scholar? No, you don't, no. So removal sucks. But setting, it's very kind of, you know, either lead Mamo or defensive-ish Jirachi. I think you can get away with it, but just be careful. Stealth Rocks will cut into literally everything on your team, so it's your team's going to be on a timer most of the time. So, I mean, taunt in Fernape, just saying. Up next, we got the Kansas City Kricketunes, coached by madigraph. Hi. Who's ranked number 4 with 4 Whoopers. Good stuff. She was the champion of our last season, so incredible job. So she chose to franchise Mew as her prize from last season, and then decided to pick up Megadancy and then Kyurem. Good luck the rest of the league dealing with this. Those top 3 are utterly disgusting together, and it makes me want to cry. Defensively, the team is pretty solid. Very solid, actually, with the Mew, Melodic, Ferrothorn, Fortress, Rune, Kyurem to an extent, Crobat to an extent, Serp to an extent. Offensively, the team is just puke. It's really good. With the Mew, Diancie, Kyurem, Pangoro, Serp, Nasty Bat, if you want to. The speed is pretty good. Speed's pretty good as well, with the Crobat to superior to Megadancy. So that's really good stuff. Fire types are going to be a little bit of an issue, like strong fire types, because you don't really have much of a switch in other than Melodic. But you know, if you're going to be using Melodic, you're either going to want to run. You're going to want to run it usually Marvel scale against more physical-oriented teams. So that kind of cuts into your bulk if you're not running leftovers. So it's not too hard for Melodic to get, you know, blasted apart over the course of a game. And then Diancie is not very resilient, we'll say. So it's a bit sketchy against fires. But other than that, the team, I think, is just insane. It's very, very balanced, very difficult to deal with and prep for, because any given mon can come every single week, and one of you is going to get killed by Kricketune, and she will not let you forget it. So keep your eyes peeled for that damn little bug. It'll be hilarious, and I'll be laughing at anybody that gets killed by the Kricketot. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. The Kricketoone's gonna come, or the Kricketot's gonna come, and it's gonna get a kill. Okay, anyway. Alright, up next, ranked number 3, the Zeraora Zooms, coached by Copy with 4 Whoopers. The team is also very balanced, very good offensively, very good defensively. Removal is pretty good, hazards are also pretty good, at least Stealth Rock. but it's not up there with the top two, in my opinion. But the team is very balanced. It's very strong and tough to break. The Togekiss, Suicune, Miltank, and the Mega Scizor. So it's very gross in terms of defense. And then offense, you got the Garchomp, the Sizz, the Uxie, Delmise, Jolteon. So it's going to be kind of a mess to deal with offensively and defensively, especially with the Miltank spreading Body Slams for Body Slam paras for the Togekiss to just abuse. So it's going to be really nasty to deal with. I really like the team. Doesn't really have much in terms of exploitable weaknesses, other than, I guess, Fire, where your only resists are Garchomp and Suicune, which both kind of crumple to Freeze Dry. So that's just something to watch out for, I guess. But overall, I really quite like the team. As it's obvious, I mean, it's ranked 4 with 4 whoops, or ranked 3 with 4 whoops. So, yeah, quite like it. Good luck, copy. Alright, up next, ranked at number 2, is the Dallas Darkrais, coached by Tripp, with a score of 4.5 whoopers, and you, sir, pander to my heart. You've got the Ashgren, the Mega Mawile, the Victini, and the Spectre, and Hitmonlee. No, you just have the strongest offense in the league, bar none. Also, this is not motivated in any way by there being a marker on the team. Shut up, don't worry about it. It's fine, everything's fine. Don't worry about it, it's okay. Yeah, this team's far and away the best offense. Easily. You don't have a way to switch into this team. You just don't. You just have to pray that you can knock out their threats before they knock out you. You got the Smeargle as well with the webs and the setting of hazards, and you could just run it as a suicide lead with the aforementioned Grand Maw, Victini, Spectre, and Hitmonlee, and just call it a day. Just run complete hyper offense, and your opponent's not really going to have a way to deal with it, because the speed is also pretty damn good. With the Spectre to Grand to Victini, which, you know, isn't great, but it's just disgusting. It's so disgusting. And then with both of your walls, Nidoqueen and Shaman, both being bulky and able to dish out hits, it's going to be nasty. And then the Marini too is there as like as the regen piece, I guess, and something to set T-spikes, which can be cool. Team is disgusting. Team is utterly disgusting. This team is probably also going to be really, really fucking fun to use. So good luck, my friend. Good luck, Tripp. I'm really looking forward to seeing your replays. Oh, this is probably also the most top-heavy team. But, I mean, this is top-heavy done right. It just clicks. And, oh, dear God. Good luck to literally everyone else. Alright. But that's not the number 1 team, because the number 1 team is the Shannon Shamans by Paraik. Tell me how to pronounce that. I don't know. With a score of 5 entire whoopers. The offense is ridiculous. The defense is pretty good. All mons can be brought. And it's just, I really like the team. Got the Kyurem Black without Dragon Answer Icicle Spear, but you got the Kyurem Black. You got the Scizor. You got the Rillaboom. You got the Raikou. You got the Shark. And for defense, you got the aforementioned. You get the Slowking, the Porygon, the Clefairy, and the Palisand. Although one critique I will say is like all of them are super weak to knock, and you don't really have a great option for a knock switch in. So that'll be very obnoxious to deal with. But with Kyurem Black, Rillaboom, and Scizor, you got some of both the best priority and excuse me, some of the best priority and some of the hardest hitting, the consistently hardest hitting in the league. But I feel like the past 9-10 teams are pretty interchangeable. This is just mostly my opinion. I like this team a little bit more though, because it's a little bit more balanced and diverse in terms of what it can do. The other team just kind of clicks a button and something dies. This team is like, okay, but like I could click this button now and then click that button next turn, and then it'd be great. So it's a little bit more varied in what it can do. Yeah. Congrats, Peric. You are officially first in air quotes of the PRs. Thank you all for watching. This has been my opinions on the Moonblast div in terms of the power rankings. Good luck to all the coaches. Please like, subscribe, and wait for more MBA content. Thank you so much. Have a great day.